Hello and welcome to Patrick's Models and Transport. Here's an update on what I've been doing. So this last couple of days I didn't film while I was doing things. I did some work. Also was out yesterday. Then this afternoon I had to do some real work on this computer. I've got translation to do about watches. So different topic this time. And then the other thing, then after I went out, I had to go and collect some wine for my father, and 40 bottles of wine that went in a boot of the regatta. And I delivered them from one of my students, also makes wine, so I got the wine from him, and in the Euganian Hills, very, very good wine, and I took it to, my father bought it. So I've got 4 bottles as well for myself. So that will be an occasion to celebrate. Right. Okay. I might open one of them to celebrate finishing this railcar, because as much as I enjoy doing it, it's beginning to be a little bit boring and taking up a lot of time. And right, so this is what I've been doing. First of all, we'll talk about the actual railcar. So you can see that the railcar is nearly complete. Today, when I was having a break, I gave the steps the second coat of black. I gave the buffers their first coat of black. You can see how I made the join between the buffer attachment and the buffers themselves painted black. I just used a triple O brush to do that at the back. And here's the same thing here. There we go. We can see the weathered radiator grille here and here. I applied some 8B black lead pencil to the door rubbers here, and that's quite nice. Slightly weathered door here, but I'm just going to leave that as it is. Spottive. And I gave the second coat of paint to the destination boards. I've painted the aluminium handle plate here and everything else. I touched up the smudgy bit here that was smudgy with red, managing to get the right shade of blue. As you know, the dark blue here is a 50-50 mix of sky blue, dark blue, and with a spot of gloss varnish put in to give it a sort of semi-gloss effect. You can see that it's not matte. Okay, so this is nearly ready, and I have to give the buffers, the face of the buffers, another coat of paint just to make sure there's no white sticking out. And then for final detailing, we'll see. I still have to make the fuel cap here, cutting the head off a pin, but we'll do that when we do the following step. The following step, there will be 2 following steps here to do, and I'm already preparing for them. Another thing I did today, this is the heat shrink tube, the same diameter of heat shrink tube I used for the roof light on the roof headlight. And today I painted it with some primer, because if you paint silver, if you just go silver directly on the yellow heat shrink tube, it'll take a million coats. So applied one coat of primer today. I think tomorrow I'll give it another coat of primer, because then I'm going to cut this. This will be used for the headlamp surrounds, more or less that length there. Say 3 millimeters to mount the acrylic diamonds for the cab lights, the cab headlights on the 2 cabs. And mentioning acrylic diamonds, I want to show you how let's see if you can see well. Oh, look at that. Look how it catches the light on the front lamp here, nice and shiny. and there's the same thing. But this will be really noticeable when we're running it on the layout. Regarding the roof, what do we still have to do? I still have to fit the horns. I also have to weather the exhaust pipes a bit with a bit of black here, which I should have done today because I was doing things with a black brush and I forgot about it. For the exhaust there and there, of course. Even a bit of smudge around here for exhaust on the roof might be a good idea, but that might be done as weathering, but I don't know. I think I might like to look at it, see it looking spotlessly resplendent and just washed. Okay, I don't know, but we'll do it with that at the end. Here you can see how the whistles are, the whistles. I'm very pleased about the whistles, really very, very satisfied by this wee job with the whistles. So that's copper pipe and a little bit of very, very thin heat shrink tube, which was shrunk in position and then painted over in gold metallized Vallejo paint. I might give it another little touch up, just a little bit, just a spot, but don't know. Let's see. Okay, I'm particularly pleased about the aluminium shine effect here on the hatch. That's very nice. And now mentioning the other thing we have to fit, here are the two horns, one there and one there. And I've begun preparing the horns. The horns are two cobbler tacks, which I took. This was an idea given to me by Kristake, 1974, o miano 74. And I used two of the smallest shoemaking tacks here, cobbler tacks. These small ones here, the shortest ones. This is a box. It's an old Smokers Match Bryant and May's Swan Vestas tin. It belonged to my grandfather. And here there's like something etched underneath, 1943, I don't know. I'll have to look at that with a magnifying glass. Maybe a very enlarged photograph. I could put it on my Instagram and we could look at it together. And it's part of a box of shoe repair equipment that I inherited from my grandfather. And so Kristake gave me this idea, suggested it, and I remembered that I had a tin of shoe tacks. So perfect. That was a great idea. So I painted them over. I'm going to make these black, the horns black, because I've been looking at photographs of things, and of course the roof is already silver. If I make silver, just put them in metal as they are, they'll be lost in detail, lost in the silver, in a sea of silver. So I'm going to make them black. The ones on ALN 668 are black. What I have to do, I'll make a little here where there's the point. I've not painted it there. I'm going to fit a little piece of the narrowest heat shrink tube here, the same one I used for the whistles, and just catch it there like that to sort of make the horns have always got their connector at the ear at the back where the air's blowing in, you know. So I'll cut a little bit there just to cover the point, and then it'll all fit on top of that piece of styrene that's fitted up there, you see. So I'm going to just paint these in position here, paint them black, and then after I'll probably just fit the heat shrink on them before painting them black. But I had the primer brush going today, and because I had to paint this with primer, and said I'll just paint these as well. I could have gone directly with black because black covers anything, but I just thought, okay, let's just use the primer. We've got the primer, no? So that's where we're up to. So this is the and then one last thing I was about to forget. I'm like Lieutenant Columbo, you know, Lieutenant Columbo, the TV series with Peter Falk. He would always leave and say, oh, I've got one last thing, one last question. I was a great actor, loved him. Anyway, I bought on, when was it, Friday, I think? Yes, Friday afternoon. I did that short. I went to the shop, the model retail and wholesale shop, and I bought some copper wire some silver coloured copper wire, 0.45mm diameter, to make the handrails. So we have a handrail here, a horizontal handrail there, another vertical one here, and of course a horizontal one here and a vertical one there, plus the little handle here. I need to fit that on, and I'll cut them to size and glue them on using my favourite PVA glue and glaze, which is fantastic because it doesn't leave, it's completely transparent. You just need a tiny spot and that'll come really very well. And this was I preferred to buy the silver stuff. It's also thinner, it's more in scale, without having to paint the copper wire, which I already have. I've got copper wire, I can show you it if I can fish it out of where it is. I have some copper wire in here. I have copper wire as well, but it's thicker in diameter. This is better for doing other jobs. I rebuilt all the handrails on those double-decker carriages, ETA carriages of this. So that's it. That's the update on what I've been doing, and in the next days we'll definitely be getting very close to the end of the project. So thanks for watching, thanks for your comments. Please tell me, give me your ideas, share your thoughts, etc, and see you shortly. Cheerio, and as I usually say, see you next time. Ciao ciao.